Welcome to the Saul's Newsstand News Rewind for September 10th, 2021. An op-ed by 60 Plus Association President Saul states, drug price negotiations are a danger to seniors. Senate Democrats just passed a budget plan that would give federal bureaucrats the ability to negotiate drug prices directly with manufacturers. To the uninitiated, that sounds attractive. After all, who wouldn't want to pay less for medicine? The word negotiation is a euphemism, of course. When big government bullies its way into a market to tell private businesses what it can charge for its products, that's price control. The lawmakers touting negotiations hope to achieve their goal by repealing the non-interference clause that's embedded in the law governing Medicare's drug benefit. This language bars the Secretary of Health and Human Services from interfering in the private price negotiations for Medicare Part D plans. The real debate isn't between those who are for or against negotiation. It's one between those who would protect a law that safeguards access and choice for seniors and those with disabilities versus those who would put it all at risk for cheap political points. The non-interference rule ensures that Americans have access to the medicines they need and deserve. We would encourage you to read the full op-ed by clicking on the link in the description below. The Hill reports, Democratic leaders betting Manchin will back down in spending fight. Democrats are racing ahead with a $3.5 trillion spending package that would boost funding for social programs and raise taxes despite rumblings from Senator Joe Manchin that he might not support legislation with that price tag. Democratic leaders are betting they can pressure Manchin to back down on his push for spending that's closer to $1.5 trillion or $2 trillion. They're essentially daring Manchin and other moderates like Senator Kyrsten Sinema to vote against the eventual budget reconciliation package, knowing that the base would erupt in anger over any Democratic lawmakers who buck the party on such a high-profile vote. Speaker Nancy Pelosi told reporters on Wednesday that colleagues putting together the legislation will stick with the $3.5 trillion goal, though she acknowledged the final number might be different. Democratic strategists warn of a backlash from the party's base if the legislation, which includes substantial spending on long-term care for the elderly and disabled, an extension of the child tax credit, funding for expanded child care, and significant investments in renewable energy sources, falls well below $3.5 trillion. And finally, an article from The Federalist states, How to Honor the 9/11 Generation of American Veterans. While the country can do more as a whole to honor those who served, here are a few things that we can do as individuals to help encourage our veterans and service members. Number 1. Treat the war in Afghanistan as an extension of 9/11. Many of those who served did so because of that tragic day 2 decades ago. Thank them for answering the nation's call in the days that followed and remind them that we have suffered no more attacks of that magnitude because of them. Number 2. Count the wins. Our rhetoric has been saturated with defeatism. This broad-brush approach is effective in debates over foreign policy, but it is damaging to those who served. Even as many chalk up the war in the loss column, our military was undefeated in the field. And finally, remember that we fought the right way. We're not talking here about strategic objectives, but about our military's conduct in war. They are fierce in both fighting and friendship. To our 9/11 generation of veterans, thank you for hearing your nation's call to service and keeping us safe. You prevailed on the battlefield, conducted yourself with honor, and never broke faith with your country or your friends. Your service was not only an invaluable contribution to our country, you reminded your fellow citizens of what they can do when they get knocked down and are told, "Let's roll." And that concludes your Saul's Newsstand News Rewind for September 10th, 2021. For more political news faster, visit saulsnews.com.